You gotta be freaking kidding me. I cannot believe this story slipped past me without noticing it. I mean, I'm not gonna say I was surprised to read all this. I wasn't actually one bit. But to finally have confirmation what I've suspected all along to come out of their damn mouths is still liberating to a degree. So what exactly am I talking about here? Well, let's have a little peek and find out why the MCU has gone to absolute shit in the past couple of years. Woke Marvel producer explains why MCU is failing. Producer Nate Moore, who was responsible for ruining the Eternals movie with his brilliant idea to gender bend and race bend the cast, reveals he won't hire writers that are fans of Marvel comics. You know, the source material. I'll say it again. You gotta be fucking kidding me. That's correct. MCU producer Nate Moore says they explicitly refuse to hire any writers who are fans of Marvel comics. The audacity of these people is absolutely staggering. Now, to start everything off, I will be fair and say that from an actual fan's perspective, I don't demand that every single writer has to be a comic book fan as well. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But they should at least care about giving the fans what they want. But we know that is far from what they care about delivering nowadays. Anyway, let's see just exactly what this idiot producer had to say. One thing I think is interesting, and specifically for writers, I would say, a lot of times, we're pitched writers who love Marvel. More explained to the Matthew Baloney podcast. Baloney? Baloney? I don't know what the hell it is. I'm just going to call him Matthew Baloney. And to me, that's always a red flag. Because I go, oh, I don't want you to already have a pre-existing idea of what it is. Because you grew up with issue 15 and that's what you want to recreate. How in the hell is that a red flag? You know, never mind. I'm not really asking because I already know the answer. It's a red flag when your priority isn't making adaptations that are faithful to the source material because in truth, you have a huge amount of disdain for comic book fans and could care less about giving them what they want and are only concerned with identity politics in order to cater to a tiny minority of loudmouths on social media who scream about and demand more diversity even though they don't give a shit about your movie and never had any intention of seeing it in the first place. Ugh. Let's keep going. So Nate Moore doesn't want the Marvel writers to have any pre-existing ideas about the characters that come from the Marvel comics, which the entire MCU is based on? Wow, that explains a lot, and explains why Marvel insiders filled me in that Stan Lee was particularly upset about replacing Mar-Vell in the Captain Marvel movie, where decades worth of comic book stories were wiped away all for the sake of diversity, which Kevin Feige continues to do. I want somebody who's hard on the material, who goes, what is this? I think there's a movie here, but maybe we should be looking at it in this way. I don't know, this just feels like such a spiteful way to approach the process into writing these films. And I swear to God, he's just taunting us at this point. This guy Nate Moore knew exactly what he was doing by saying all this on that podcast, and knew full well the kind of blowback he would receive. He doesn't care though. Again, as I said a minute ago, they do not like comic book fans and aren't interested in catering to us. Now, in an attempt to back up his bullshit, Nate Moore does mention that past MCU writers Marcus and McFeely, who, as we know, were responsible for writing some of the best MCU films, weren't comic book fans. So that somehow solidifies this outrageous hiring process. But the problem for him is that Marcus and McFeely actually seemed concerned, with bringing more authentic adaptations of these characters to the big screen. Though they didn't always hit the mark, but some of those decisions may not have been their fault. But when you watch something like The Winter Soldier, you can tell that they were actually trying to satisfy comic book fans. I mean, I love that movie. Not to mention the Russo brothers directed a lot of the movies that they wrote, and Joe Russo was known for growing up a big comic book fan. So, it may be true that they had this hiring process back then too, but it just feels like things have changed now. And it shows immensely in the garbage movies we've been getting in the post-Endgame era of the MCU. And more than ever after hearing Nate Moore's comments, I know they're hiring writers with these conditions so they don't have to worry about anyone giving them shit or standing up to them when they demand an identity politics-laden bastardization of the characters. Moore continues by mentioning adapting the Marvel comics shouldn't be a direct adaptation, which is true. But in the case of Moore and the woke approach to Phase 4 and beyond, again, what they are doing is intentionally going out of their way to replace characters and change everything about them, i.e. Namor. Which has resulted in poor quality content because it's all about selling an agenda instead of creating something good. Exactly. I think that's important to be able to go, look, the source material is great and I love it. And comics work in the medium they were built in, but that's not a direct one-to-one translation to the best version of the movie. And sometimes it takes someone who's out of this culture to go, hey, I know you think it should be this, but maybe it should be this other thing. What's too bad is that Ike Perlmutter and his Marvel Comics creative are no longer involved, as when they were involved, the MCU was a lot closer to the comics, and Perlmutter seemed to have kept these Hollywood creative types at bay. I could care less about the behind-the-scenes drama. At least the MCU was pretty great back then. Hashtag RIP MCU. Indeed. So there you go. You know, there really isn't any more to be said about this. This is fucking insanity, but not surprising to hear. All this did was confirm many of my suspicions. But go on, Marvel. Keep it up with these garbage MCU movies. I'm sure it's going to help out with Disney's bottom line. Like I've said before, the MCU has gotten so freaking bad that I'm pretty much checked out on it. But I'm still not going to just sit by and keep my mouth shut as they continue to deliver these trash movies. I'd much prefer to just remember the best moments of the MCU, the best movies. Winter Soldier, Iron Man, Infinity War, Guardians of the Galaxy. Good times. So here's a quick clip to remind you just how good it used to be. Those days are long gone now, and wokeness is now the name of the game. Profits be damned. So, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think of this in the comments down below. Please like and share the video, and consider subscribing if you enjoy my content. And I'll catch you all later.